Hi everyone, this is Michael at Fish Easy. I wanted to make a comment and follow up on something I saw on YouTube tonight. A few minutes ago I was just working in the fish room. I'm just doing some things here on this Saturday night, and when I saw the video by Nick in Keeping Fish Simple channel, I was touched by some of the things he said. Why? Because it was actually experiences that I have had. Now, just to put it in context, what I heard was his comments about how many fish keepers are rather doing detrimental things for the fish hobby. Fish breeders are doing some things that he wanted to bring to the attention to others. And I appreciate that. In fact, I feel wholeheartedly the same as Nick does. That in actuality, it doesn't seem right and fair to do some of the things that they're doing. For example, what Nick brought up was the fact that many fish keepers, or shall we say fish breeders, are trying to keep themselves in such a fashion that, or keep them and put them in a position that maybe they are the only ones who have males or the females. In fact, they will send out only the one sex. Now, something he didn't mention in his video is the experience I've had. Not only just individuals who might just sell a certain sex because they're afraid or don't want other people to be able to breed the fish. Obviously, here at Fish Easy, we all know that I share everything I have, every little tidbit I can to help others be successful at breeding fish as well. But specifically, in the case of this particular act of sending only males and females intentionally, it doesn't really seem right, and it isn't right, because who in their mind want to receive fish with the intention of trying to breed them, and then they can't do it? It's just no good. So I'm in full agreement with Nick in Keeping Fish Simple. It's not a good thing, it's a negative thing, but one thing to keep in mind is that sometimes, even what I've had the case is, one time I had a batch of Odessa barbs, and they were young, and people wanted to buy them, and I says, I don't know the sex, and they're too young to tell. So a lot of times people don't like to sell them that young. They like to wait until they can tell and then sell, but I don't. I will sell young, unsexed, and unable to sex. But also, there are some people who just want males. I just want the male Odessas because the male Odessas are, in actuality, the one that's pretty, right? And the females are not so pretty. But this is my experience about not just fish breeders. And I go to aquarium shops, my local fish store, and I will actually go in and I will see a fish that I have always wanted. And in fact, there's one that I would really love to breed. And I've been waiting and looking for this one. And when I do, I look in the tank. I look in the tank and I'm looking. And this happened over at our local fish store called Fanatics. When I went over there and I said, I've been looking for the Cribensis tenuatus, and I don't see any females. They're just all males. And you know what the fish shop owner said to me? He says, I'm very upset about that too. He says, they sent me only males. So it turns out that this isn't the first case, but I've gone to, for example, another fish that I wanted to breed was the threadfin rainbows. And it turns out that the threadfin rainbows, they'll get them in, and there'll be maybe 200, 500 fish, and you're looking, and there are absolutely no females. Or maybe one or two, and sometimes they're just like iffy. And that's happened to me. If you get there, as soon as they get in, sometimes a female or two will slip past. And there's just very few. In fact, those are the ones I look for. And we've tried picking them out so that I could breed some. And I was successful at one point in getting some threadfin rainbows bred, because I was able to get probably 2 or 3 females in the whole tank. But that was just happenstance. I was there and I was able to grab them. But that isn't fair to the next guy who comes in and looking and says, oh, I'd like to get some of those too. And he has no chance. So again, it's not just fish breeders, it's suppliers as well. Fish breeders meaning the suppliers the fish farms, sometimes they come from Singapore that way, or they come from Malaysia that way. And that's obviously because my local fish shop will order hundreds. And they don't order hundreds and say, I just want males. No, they're not expecting just males. And in fact, when they arrive and that's all they are, well, so I'm in full agreement. That's something that's very negative. I think it should be shared. I think everybody should talk about it. In fact, that's why I'm making this video. I just watched the video. In fact, I'm going to put the link to Nick's video here in the description so you can jump to it, and that way you can see the video I'm talking about. And this was an experience also I had more recently. Went to the tank, and there were some dwarf cichlids I really wanted to breed. They were McMasteri, and there was 2 in the tank that were probable females. And so I took those 2 probable, but they were males. So I ended up with all males. So it's impossible to raise anything with that situation. So I was able to get some Crebensis tenuatus, but now they're actually declassified or classified differently now, and so the fish I've been looking for is actually slightly different. There are different varieties, but that's a story that I'll share on another video when we're talking about that dwarf fish. If you've watched my videos, you'll see. And my tank here, this last 10-gallon right here, it's got a pair of those fish. So I'm very happy about it. Beautiful female, nice male, and so we hope to get some youngsters one day. Now, the other thought I had was, if you are an individual who says, I want to keep my females, and I want to keep them back, I want to keep them because I need them for breeders, that's fine. But can you please let the buyer beware? It's only fair. Tell them, let them know, this is all I have, just males. If you're interested in these males, then fine. But if you're interested in males and females, I don't have any at the present time. What's wrong with that? Just to let it be known. But when a person has an expectation, or they're asking for males and females, that's definitely wrong in my book for somebody to go off and just say, I don't know what they are, but then really, in truth, do know what they are. They're all one sex. So that's something I wanted to share. I hope I wasn't sounding like I'm ranting or on the subject, but it is something that it touched my heart when I heard Nick talk about it, because his experience has been my experience, and this is what happens to people who love to breed fish. And there's also something I wanted to share. We have heard over the years many people who do have fish shops, and sometimes these fish shops think that fish breeders are in fact, they are actually herding and selling fish, or selling fish to and cutting in on their people. Well, I have over the last several years never seen that to be the case, because there is no one person who can actually breed that many fish to actually cut in to what a fish shop can order on a weekly basis or every other week or monthly basis, and bring lots of variety of fish in and sell them in weeks and weeks, and it takes months to breed fish. And so every so often you're going to have some offspring, you're going to have some batches that you want to sell, and you need to find a home for them. And you need to pay for the food. You need to pay for some of your expenses. So obviously no one's getting rich. It's very true what Nick said. You're not getting rich, not breeding fish, but unless you had a large-scale production, and we're talking, like the Florida fish farms, we're talking about like many of the others who have these big places, big ponds, and places where they're doing in mass numbers. Well, I've heard the complaint from some of the owners in this thing, and I don't see it. I think they're just they're just thinking that, maybe it's greed, maybe it's thinking that, I'm the only one that should be selling fish around. And in my case, I do breed a lot of fish, but the fish I actually sell back to the pet shops, local fish shops, all over the Greater Toronto area. And it's not just one fish shop, it's many. And so what it shows me is that in the sheer numbers, there's a large volume, and they're getting a great deal because they're getting fish from locally, which are actually healthier. And they also, just so happens that these fish, they don't pay for the shipping and the boxes that are required, that you have to buy extra to make up a full pallet and all this. No, actually rather, what they're missing is the fact that they can, in essence, they can take advantage of when situations are that, like we've had it during COVID, they couldn't get fish. And then here they have some local people who can give them some, at least keep themselves going. So during the COVID pandemic, this was something that did occur and did come up. So, but to think that auctions of clubs actually hurt the stores, everybody who picks up fish from an auction is looking for, usually they end up with used equipment. They're usually on a budget. Maybe they can't afford to just pay retail and get all the things that they need. Or maybe they find this rare fish that you can only find at an auction, and this is a particular fish they've been looking for, and they're not going to find it at the local fish shop. Why should the local fish shop say, no, you can only buy from me, you can only get my fish, and guess what? This is all I have. These tanks here have the only fish that are available. They're the only ones. You can pick from A, B, or C, and that's it. But I'm looking for something else. I'm looking for something F. I'm looking for some foreign fish. I'm looking for some special fish. And it's something that I've seen online. Maybe it's not going to be coming from the Florida farms. It's going to be coming from an individual who happens to have that strain or that particular really special fish. So that's something to think about too. And I really feel that individuals who make these claims and these statements, they're just missing the fact. So there is one shop in particular that's quite close to me, and the owner, it's a small local fish store, and they've had that complaint. They don't buy fish locally because they think that it's in competition from. I've never bought from that store because first of all, it's a rinky-dink store, and there's nothing that they have that I want. And so when you find that to be the case, you don't go back, right? Yet, if you go into a store and it's not well taken care of, that's another reason why people go in, they look around, they see the sick fish, they see the empty tanks, they don't come back. So business sense, sometimes shops don't use business sense. I don't know what kind of sense they're using. It doesn't make any sense, but in the end, if they would take the time to get to know local breeders and take advantage of what they can get, usually local breeders are the ones that are willing to work with them and willing to help them out because they want them to succeed. We want the brick and mortar places, and that's because, I need things. I need to go in, I need to get some supplies for my fish room, and I'm always looking for, it could be as simple as a net. I need nets. So, where am I going to get that? I'm going to make my own? No. I need to buy that, right? Well, I could go online, but if my local fish shop has them, and I'm bringing fish in, I'd rather take the store credit. I'd rather, hey, I'm just going to trade you. I'll take them, and we can trade, and, I can end up with the supplies I need. So that's one way of cutting expenses. So these are just things to keep in mind. But keeping certain sex, and that was something that Nick brought up, and I totally agree that that's something that's ridiculous and not very honest, to put it bluntly. And I think that if we if we know somebody who's doing that, we should ask them. We should ask them, is that what you're doing? And let them respond. And if they respond, oh, no, I'm not doing it, okay, but at least we asked the question, you see. So those are my thoughts, and I know that Nick also made mention of some other things. It was a great video. It was only a few minutes, and I didn't think it was harping on the negative. I thought it was just, kind of very, very succinctly putting out there what is actually the case in many situations. And thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much for thinking of the hobby and thinking of others. And maybe together as a group, I promote people to join local clubs. My local club is the Peel Regional Aquarium Club. It's located in the Peel region of the Greater Toronto area, right outside Toronto. And so, people are welcome to join the club, get to know other members. I find that I have come across great things from local members, and these are things that I pick up that I normally would not have picked up anyway. And in other words, I go to the little club auction, they have something and I like it, but I'll take it. But I wasn't really looking for it, but because it came from somebody, some breeder, a fellow breeder, someone I know, someone I trust, somebody I think that does a great job, well, that's something that I think worth my looking into. So I might go there. So sometimes it's the quality of how the fish are cared for, and that happens. So thank you very much. I know I am kind of ranting a little bit, so I will cut it off here. And thank you very much for coming into Fish Easy. We do our weekly live streams, and I also put out videos when I can. So I welcome any and everyone to come and join the fun and to have a good time. It is a good chat. There's always a good chat. There's always good people on the Fish Easy live streams. And so usually they're Friday nights, but sometimes they might go to a different night of the weekend just because of circumstances. But in general, thank you so much for being loyal members and watching this video. And please take a look at Nick's video and leave a comment what you think. I know I'm going to leave a comment, and I will leave a comment on what I think. And I'm going to appreciate any comments you may leave on this video. So have a good night, and we will see you later.